Try to get the best camera angle. Um, Learned from last week. So welcome to Friday night Tai Chi class. Um, this is our second day doing the Tai Chi, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about like why Tai Chi. Um, First, a lot of you requested Tai Chi over yoga on Friday nights, so this is the reason why we have Tai Chi. But also, why Tai Chi in terms of trauma healing or trauma transfiguration? Um, Tai Chi is unique amongst all the genres of martial arts. Believe it or not, Tai Chi is actually a martial arts, not just an exercise. And it teaches us really how to get connected to our bodies and our minds, and most importantly, the chi or the energy. And that's really what we're working with Tai Chi. That's why it's one of my most favorite tools when it comes to directing the energy flow in our body, which oftentimes gets stuck or stagnant throughout the day. That's the reason why we use Tai Chi. I'm seeing comments. It's really tiny. Hi, Megan. Uh, Happy Friday. Thanks for making it today. So, what I'll do is every week I'll begin to expand on what we learned from last week. So, last week we learned um, uh, the fundamental posture of standing. In yoga, we call it Tadasana or mountain pose. And it's so ironic that the poem that I shared with you last week is about thinking like a mountain. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'd have to go back to the first Tai Chi lesson. Or better yet, sign up to the newsletter at traumatransfiguration.com, because that's where I communicate these kind of poetry and all information related to the work that I do with trauma work. So today we're going to have a discussion after the class about what that poem means, for me at least, and why it's relevant. Okay, so let's begin. So last week we learned, if you remember, how to stand. So in Tai Chi, we have this posture, the standing posture, where our feet are shoulder width apart, meaning that if I were to draw a line from the center of the feet, it would go to my shoulders. So this gives us, again, the stability. If we lift up our 10 toes and we plant the base of our inner heel, inner mound of the big toe and outer mound of the pinky toe, what is going to happen is going to create an arch, right? If you remember. And then what happens is then you can bend your knees slightly as if you're riding a horse. This is also called horse stance. And then begin to play around with your uh, pelvis to find a point where the pelvis bowl is not tipping forward to spill water and not tipping backward. So you're not like this and you're not like this. Somewhere comfortable and balanced. And what this does is it creates a stable foundation for your spine to grow tall. And what happens when your spine grows tall? Well, you're able to breathe easier. Try it for yourself. Take a deep breath in here. Isn't that so much better compared to, say, your spine was like this? It would be very hard to take a deep breath. So if you allow your spine to grow tall, your crown of the head to reach to the ceiling, your shoulders to just relax down and back, it's a more natural stance, a more stable stance. And by allowing our body to move and stand in ease, then we're able to better circulate our breath, therefore our energy, which affects how we feel, our mood. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So because you've already learned that, we're gonna go ahead and begin with some of the warm-ups that we learned yesterday. It's very important to warm up in any type of physical activity that you do. And we'll begin because a lot of you really like the neck rotation. So we're gonna add a little bit more. So we'll begin from the head down. We'll start with the neck rotations. So we're gonna start the neck, the chin tucking in, and then going side to your right and to the left. Okay. And then this is when you can start to really begin to synchronize your breath with the movement. Now, as a general rule, you can always breathe in whenever any part of your body ascends. And then when it descends, then you can breathe out. It's just a little bit easier that way for the lung expansion. All right, so while maintaining your sturdy mountain stance, right? And then going around the other way, because what we do to one side, it's really important to balance the other side. So the other thing that we're keeping track here is the number of rotations. So I did 4. So I'm going to do that on the other side. And the slower that you go, ooh, there we go, I'm hearing cracks. The more mindful, the less possibility that you have for injury. And that's really the beauty of Tai Chi, is that it's really accessible to a lot of people who have limitations, physical limitations, because of, over the years of sitting on desks, tight muscles, chronic pain, etc. And as you know, trauma is very well much stored in the body. So a lot of the aches and pains that we feel chronically are actually related to our mental and emotional health as well. So we did the rotation clockwise and counterclockwise. Now we're going to try this other move where we kind of like dig our chin forward and back. I know, such a new movement. For a lot of people, this is a movement that is unfamiliar, so just be gentle with yourself when you try something new. So you're kind of like digging your chin. Yeah. Okay, and then backwards. So going backwards. I know, it's so hard to coordinate this. And then from here you might notice you have tight jaws, so you can just massage that. I noticed that in myself, so I'm just gonna give my jaws a massage, okay? And see if I could rotate the jaw side to side. There we go. The other really fun thing about neck exercises is this figure 8 exercise. So you're gonna imagine that on top of your head, okay, there's this laser, and then you're gonna try to draw an 8 to the ceiling. So let's try that. So drawing an 8. Ooh, goodness, this feels amazing. There we go. So an 8. So you can decide how big the orbit is that your head is taking. And that's going to be really determined with your neck flexibility. And then the other side, you may notice that one side of the neck is more flexible than the other, and that's totally okay. It's really hard to do this while talking. So you do that. It just feels so good. Like that could be the entire class to just do neck rotations. So thank you so much for the feedback about, I think it was Megan who said that she absolutely loved the neck. There's so much constriction that can happen here. This is the tightest part of the body. It's like literally a bottleneck. A lot of, in Chinese medicine, they believe that the neck is connected to the liver. And the liver is responsible for storing a lot of our anger and resentment, especially when they're unexpressed. So if somebody has done something that irritated us or caused us to feel annoyed or angry, and if we weren't able to express that, communicate that, or express it in other means, we start to feel back pain and certainly neck pain, because neck is connected to the liver. So that's why we get, like, even when we're stressed, like our shoulder starts to climb up, and then our neck begins to stiffen up. And pile that with desk work and bad posture, for a lot of us, this is the first time that our neck moved in a 3-dimensional motion. Oftentimes it's in a 2-dimensional, looking this way. Maybe every now and then we'll look this way to check the blind spots when we're driving, but we haven't really rotated it to its full capacity. So it's really important that when we're warming up, we're warming up the joints. So before I just keep talking about warm up and this class begins just about warm up, let's do that shoulder rotation again, forward and back. And if you remember that really awkward one shoulder front and then the other one back, it's kind of like a dance move, you know. Next time you go to the club, you know, whenever the club's open again, try this. Okay, I can always be a comedian, right? So we're gonna do that, and then the other way, okay? And then from there, then we got this hip thing going on, like the hip, pelvis, sacrum, so much going on there. Now, for a lot of you, um, you know, the back area is not something that we pay attention to, but if I turn around here, you can see in my back, over here, where I'm placing my hand, is a bone called the sacrum. Now it's kind of like a upside down triangle, and a lot of nerves that come from the spine go through that sacrum. So when we impinge a nerve, then you know we get something called sciatica, like when the nerve runs down and pain runs down. But any kind of impingement in the lower back sacral area is often felt as pain. Now, with people, probably you guys know, but some people don't know that the sacrum is a separate bone from the pelvis. And the pelvis actually is not fully entirely fused. There's a, a connective tissue um, in between the sacrum and the pelvis, and you can actually move you know the sacrum just ever so slightly in like tiny micro rotation to again stimulate movement into that joint. So anytime two bones meet against one another, oftentimes it's covered by the connective tissue or cartilage. Um, that is called a joint, right? So this is called the sacroiliac joint. It's the joint that connects the sacrum with the ilium, which is part of the pelvis. So if you do micro movements, okay, now I'm getting really nerdy here. I don't know why, but like really, this is a really sexy move when we're talking about, you know, dance moves to try, you know, when the dance clubs open. So you're kind of like just kind of like undulating and gyrating the hips in such a way where you're really focused on that sacrum, okay? Now remember I introduced the perineum squeeze. Sometimes I call it a secret squeeze because nobody knows what you're doing when you're doing it. Now you can start doing that here. You see, like Tai Chi, Qigong can be really sexy sometimes. Sometimes it's not so sexy because we do a lot of like burping and farting kind of exercises, but but sometimes it is. So what this is happening, you're stimulating all that nerve endings there, and you're becoming aware of the most one of the most neglected joints, this kind of pelvic region joints. It's actually one of the most mobile joints, meaning that it has the ability to move in many more directions than, for example, your fingers, which not your except your thumbs. Your fingers can only move unilaterally, right? The thumbs is opposable, so it can move in so many different ways. And the hips, the hip joint is very movable, just much like the shoulder joint. But what happens, because we're seated on chairs and desks, we don't stretch, we lose the flexibility, and then when we lose flexibility, we lose mobility, and then we lose strength, and then our posture goes everywhere. One side is like wonky, and then it pulls on the nerve endings, and then it creates pain. That's why a lot of people have a lot of back pain. So let's do that undulating, sexy rotation. So we're doing clockwise, counterclockwise. And for those of you who are commenting, thank you. I hope they're nice comments because I really can't see them because I'm using my phone. So I just figured that the camera on the phone is so much better than the camera on my laptop. And then, okay, so this is like the sexy movement, right? Like this is not like the, this is not like, you know, like we're talking about like, you know, like Latin music when you're like really moving your hips. Next, we're gonna do that kind of like more not so sexy hip movement, which is drawing circles as big as we could, okay? So the key here is to really start the movement from your feet, from the base. Okay, that's why we're standing in this horse stance, right? Because we don't want to put any unnecessary tension in our low back already as it is. So we're really moving from the feet and then taking that energy and then moving the hips to follow it, like in a wave-like rotation. And then the motion just gets bigger and bigger until, like, you know, the knees can bend if it allows you, to bend the knees. And then you're gonna start creating even bigger circle. And remember, this is called dragon drinks from the well, right? Like pretend you're a dragon drinking from the well. Ooh, that feels really good in the back of my legs. So I hope you are following along. I mean, if you're just watching, you're missing out on all of the fun. So I encourage you to follow along. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to place our hands where our knees are, to the side of the knees, not putting any pressure on the knees. And then we're gonna create circles. Okay, you can choose how big or small the circles you need to be. Like, you're not a better Tai Chi person if you have bigger circles. It doesn't work like that. The point is that we're listening to our body. That's exactly what we're learning here, is how to communicate with our body and link the body and the mind and this, you know, you've heard about this. Okay, so fantastic. And then we can then rotate the feet. So I'm doing this kind of motion with my feet. So I hope you guys can hear me, because I'm not sure how good the camera is on this very old and cracked iPhone. So I'm talking a little bit louder than the usual just to make sure that the volume um, is heard. Fantastic. Okay, so we've warmed up our joints, wonderful, like even our wrist and our elbows. And then what happens is that, you know, you have this inclination to move in a three-dimensional way. You may begin to rotate like this. This is three-dimensional, right? And then remember the tapping to the kidneys. We're waking up the kidneys, which is where the energy is stored. Did I wake you up? Yes, this is where all the energy is stored. You came here to do Tai Chi, right? Are you gonna do Tai Chi with us? Hello? Yeah? Where's Malulu? Malulu's up there just watching us do it. Good. So we're twisting again. We're twisting not from our lumbar, from our lower back. We're twisting from our feet and drawing the energy up, being mindful not to over twist the knees, right? Fantastic. The other fun thing that people do in the park, usually older people, you might have seen them, you know, in the park, is they do this. And what are they doing? They are tapping on their body, because our body contains nerves, it contains vessels, it contains sensations when you do this. All right? You're so cute. Yeah. When you don't want me to do this, you want me to pay attention to you. You want me to tap your body too. Okay, okay, very good. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, all right, you're doing Tai Chi. Yeah, we're tapping, 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 tapping. And what we're doing is we're waking up the body. We're waking up the meridians. The meridians are the channels where our chi or our energy flows, right? Yeah, they're just full of energy, full of chi. Okay, when I'm 80, I wish to be anywhere close to your level of energy. He's 80 years old in human years, right? All right, why don't you have a seat so I can finish the course, the lesson, okay? Alrighty, so we tapped onto our meridians. Now I lost my train of thought. Let's get to the Tai Chi, okay? Let's begin with wave hands, okay? So as we breathe in, remember moving up, breathing in, and moving down, exhaling. Breathing in, and breathing out. Good. In, and as I'm rising and then descending, the knees are bending, the pelvis remains neutral, and I maintain my horse stance, okay? And then we're gonna take our Tai Chi ball. Remember when we did that exercise with this. Let's just do that again. Feel the chi. All right. For me, I felt it right away because we've already done so much waking up of the chi. Okay. Once you have your chi ball, which you'll feel, trust me, if you keep at it, you'll feel it. Can't tell you what it is, but you'll feel something. And once you feel it, chances are that's it. All right, wonderful. So we got our chi ball. We're gonna take it around. We're gonna learn the first move in the 24 style Tai Chi. Remember I said there's 24. The first move is parting the wild horse's mane. So imagine like a wild horse has a mane like as long as this, and we're combing it. So we're gonna take, so from this chi ball, okay, let me see, I lost my train of thought. Okay, we're going to take the left foot forward, okay, and notice that my stance are always at a point where I'm in balance, right? So I'm not like taking such a wide step. I'm taking a step that is comfortable for me. So I'm gonna step out with my left foot, and I'm gonna bring the, sorry, because you're watching, I'm gonna step up from my right foot, and I'm gonna bring up the, okay, it's counter, yeah, you can do it the opposite way, yeah. Step out with your right foot, and then you're gonna bring the right hand, which is underneath, and then you're gonna part the wild horse's mane. Technically, it's supposed to be with your left first, but let's see what happens. So this is bringing out the wild horse's mane. So if you're doing it on the right, I mean, I don't think it matters that much unless there's a hard and fast rule about that, which I don't think exists. But who knows? If there is, correct me. Step up with your left foot, take the right hand underneath, and then move it up, and the one on top comes down. We're parting the wild horse's mane. So what this does is you move forward, and then you move back. So here's the thing in Tai Chi. I'm just gonna do it this way because this is what feels natural to me. So when you go forward in Tai Chi, whatever you give, you receive back. So everything comes back into equilibrium, which is a really hard lesson to learn in life, right? Sometimes we give and give and give and give and never give time for us to receive. So this is a good lesson for giving and receiving equally. So we're doing that again on the other side. And then one more time. Stepping forward. All right, so 3 times. Okay? Why don't we start again and do that again? So from here, for stance, we're gonna gather the Tai Chi ball. Okay, when I gather the Tai Chi ball, I'm moving my my left foot towards the right, and then taking the left hand from underneath, taking the right hand down, gather the ball. Part the wild horse's mane, give and then receive, and then the other way, the other side, give, receive. So I'm not giving way too much that I become off balance, and I'm not taking that I become off balance either. The key is to maintain equilibrium and poise, right? And we're doing it slow and mindfully. So we're just gonna keep doing this. Why don't we just keep doing this until we master this one move? That's how traditionally yoga was taught, is that you can't move on to the next posture until the master says that you can go ahead. So if you can't reach your toes, you're gonna have to work on that for months until you move on to the next posture. It's a little bit different here in the West, but I was taught that in India that was the case. Yeah. Yes. When is this gonna end, my dear? I'm not sure. We're gonna teach them 3 postures today, okay? So we're just gonna do this and back. And what we're doing here, I keep yapping, but when you're doing this on your own and you're silent, you begin to start arriving at the present moment. This is a mindful exercise. It's a mindful walking exercise, almost like a mindful dancing exercise, which for a lot of people is more accessible than just seated meditation. So that's parting the wild horse's mane, okay? So let's come back to center. Inhale, wave hands, exhale, down, Inhale, exhale, down. Inhaling and exhaling. All right, let's do parting the wild horse's mane again. So gather your ball, part the mane. One, inhaling. Oh, when you give one, you're also exhaling. Exhaling. And then receive. Inhale. And then exhale, give. And then the slower you do it, the better. And this time, rather than continuing, we're going to take the back foot, right foot, step it down slightly. So you're going to bring it up, back down, and then we're going to take this really fancy hand movement, kind of like wild horse parting mane, and we're going to spread it out like this and give a little kick. This is called white crane. I know, complex, right? We'll come back to it. And then we're going to do this push and then receive. Okay, so we just learned 2 more moves over there. Push, okay, and receive. I wish the camera can capture more of this. So let me see if I start moving away so you can see what I'm doing, what's happening. So forward, back. So you give, you receive. All right, give, receive. Okay, so those are 3 moves we learned. 3. So we learned parting the wild horse's mane, white crane, okay, white crane, and then transitioning to this, which I forgot, which is kind of like pushing and pulling. All right, push and pull. And I think that should be enough for today, and then we're gonna continue onwards. Hello there. I can't read the name. Sandra. Hi, Sandra. It's a good thing that I'm very close to the camera. So remember the 3 moves, right? From the beginning. So inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. And this time I'm going to do it silently so you can focus on the movements. So we're going to do everything in 3s just to make things simple. So 3 of that, except for the white crane, that's just 1. Wild horse, 3 times. Slower you go, the harder it gets. Crane. And then this pushing, pulling 3 times. All right. So that's 3 out of the 24 moves. So if you stay tuned every week, we're gonna go and add a couple of postures every now and then. All of them have applications. Today we learned about how to stand tall in your posture, which then creates more openness and space for your breath and energy to travel, helping us feel better about ourselves. And we also learned about giving and receiving, and how to only take what we need and to give what we can, and maintaining our posture so we're not overstepping ourselves, getting us off balance. So those are really valuable lessons in life that we can apply from concepts like Tai Chi. So before I let you all go, I did say that I was going to discuss with you what the poem means. So I'm just gonna move this so that I could sit down. Thank you so much for participating. So feel free to now sit down and let me see. Do we have lower this down a bit? There we go. Okay. Feel free to sit down or lay down. In yoga, it's often tradition to lay down on the back after practice. We don't do that so much in Tai Chi. We just kind of like feel the way our body is and move the chi around, which we did last time. I'm not sure how much time is. Oh yeah, 30 minutes. Okay, so I'll make it quick. Good old water. So last time we talked about the poem, Thinking Like a Mountain. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go back to the week prior. And Thinking Like a Mountain, excuse me, is a poem about the massacre of the wolves in Yellowstone National Park a long time ago, because they felt that the wolves were not valuable citizens and contributing anything good into the ecosystem, which turned out to be extremely devastating for the forestry, because then the deer were able to multiply so much that they basically tore down the entire ecosystem by eating all the trees. And it takes a long time for trees to grow. You know, deer obviously are able to reproduce much faster than a tree can grow. And this just it completely destroyed the environment. It affected the streams and the rivers, because the beavers can no longer make dams, which then affected the ability for the trout to travel upstream, which then starved the bears because they're not able to feed. So you could see how this whole ecosystem is just destroyed. But when you remove one important player in the game, and that was the wolves. Now, for us, the reason why I love that poem is because oftentimes there are wolves. Funny enough, you know, I drew this card from my animal card deck, which, as you can see, is a wolf. And I drew this on the wolf moon, full moon, which occurred, when did the wolf moon occur? Over a week ago. The first full moon, and now we're entering the new moon. So oftentimes 2 weeks, like 2 weeks before it becomes the new moon, which will then be the Lunar New Year. Sorry, buddy's here. Speaking of wolves, hello, mister. We're almost done. We're almost done. Yes. Yeah. I'll be with you. So, what does this have to do with trauma and healing? Sometimes when we're dealing with difficult emotions, difficult feelings. Oh my goodness, look at this. Tai Chi is so... it ripped my pant. Like, my goodness. I had no idea Tai Chi can do that. Either that or this pant's very old, so it needs to be replaced. Yeah, never going to Lululemon ever again. So, anyway, yeah, like when we have a difficult emotion or we're experiencing something difficult in our life, oftentimes the immediate impulse is to push it away. Whether it be loneliness, sadness, anger, what have you, shame, guilt. It can be difficult to deal with that, similar to how it's difficult to deal with wolves, because wolves are carnivorous, right? They're it's not pretty, like this, it's not a pretty sight to see them, you know, kill other animals. And on top of that, people were saying how the wolves were killing livestock like cows, and also competing with the hunters, you know, in terms of game. So, you know, just get rid of them. They're a nuisance, and nobody wants them. And so when they killed them all off, what had happened was it destroyed the environment. And similar to our environment, like our ecosystem, all of these emotions that we experience, no matter how scary or how raw and difficult they are to deal with, they play a role in the health of our entirety. So eliminating them completely is not something advisable to what I recommend, because a, they're never gonna fully go away. We have to find a way to relate to them in a different way, where we have more balance and harmony, just like what they've learned with the wolves. So what they've done is they've taken, because the wolves practically went extinct in Yellowstone, which is one of my favorite national parks in North America. They'd taken some wolves from Canada and repopulated the park, and now that the park is thriving with wolves. And yeah, I think wolves get a bad rap, you know, like Little Red Riding Hood, Three Little Pigs, Big Bad Wolf. And similarly, inside of us, there's kind of like that Jekyll and Hyde, like, you know, the wolf, werewolf. Um, and that's why these stories speak so much to us, is because inside of us, there is that shadow side. And it's a matter of working with that in a healthy way, rather than trying to extinguish and eliminate some of those more difficult parts of ourselves. So I'll leave you with that, because it's a lot to digest. And the next step would be to examine, you know, who am I and what are those parts of myself? Those are everything that we do in practices like Tai Chi and yoga, when we're getting to know our bodies, our mind, our spirit. So I think I've went over time as per usual. We'll call it a wrap for tonight. All life exists for a reason. Thank you so much, Megan, for that contribution. Yeah, I hope you all have a good Friday evening, or wherever you are, whatever time it is. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next week. Take care. Okay, how do I get out?